All right, so you went down to the store and you bought yourself a new DSLR camera, or you basically just dug up your old camera from the basement. Well, we're going to apply the first settings that you need to apply to a camera every time you get a new camera body. I've had a number of camera bodies over the years, and every time I get one, these are the settings that I always apply to them. This will help you manage the settings a little bit better. The functionality will be a little easier to use, and by applying these settings, we'll get out there and we'll take some pictures today. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first setting that we want to adjust is a setting that doesn't allow us to take pictures unless there's an SD card in our camera. Now, this may seem silly, but you actually have to have an SD card in your camera in order for that thing to take pictures, or even to apply settings to your camera. Now, this is a little bit frustrating because a lot of times I get a camera out and I just want to get some settings ready, and I get this little picture on the back of my LCD screen that says, sorry, you can't take pictures until you actually have an SD card in your camera. So the first thing we want to do is we want to turn that function off. Now, the second setting that I want to share with you is a little bit like that first one. Whenever we are applying a new lens to our camera, maybe we're changing the lens out, maybe when we are applying a different application to our lens, you're going to find that it will not allow you to release the shutter unless a lens is actually in place on the camera. It's one more thing that restarts your camera. I don't want my camera settings to restart. I want to actually keep everything in place. If I change my lens, I want to make sure that nothing changes as far as my settings or my focus. Now, the third thing that I want to share with you guys is how to adjust the date and the time with your camera. Now, if you're like me and you get a new camera body and it's going to ask you all those questions like, what time is it? What's the date? And you just ignore it. You're like, oh, I'll just do that later. Well, what happens is you start taking pictures, and when you're going through those pictures, when you're trying to figure out which ones you want to save and keep, or just find those pictures in your SIM card, they're not in order chronologically. So you can't find them. You can't figure out when I took that picture. I know I was there last Sunday, but it doesn't say Sunday on it. It doesn't tell me the time. It's a lot easier to find images if they're in chronological order. So don't be like me. You actually want to take the time to do this. That way you don't run into those headaches later on. Now, the fourth tip is going to be to format that card. And I know a lot of you who have a little bit of experience with photography, you think like, yeah, of course, you're going to format the card. But a lot of people forget to do this. You think, okay, well, I don't need to format my card. I've got a lot of memory open on this card. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in place, take my pictures, and move my pictures to my computer. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times when we don't format our card, those images will be corrupt after a while. Maybe we've waited a little bit. Maybe, the images didn't transfer to the computer the way we wanted them to. For whatever reason, if you don't format that SD card, you're going to find that the images can go bad on you. They can get a little faulty. They can be corrupted. You want to make sure that the first thing you do whenever you put your SD card into your camera is go ahead and format that card. So we're going to walk through the steps on how to do that. So the fifth step is how to use this AV button on the back of our camera to get a focus lock on our subject. Now, if you're just getting into photography, you're going to find that this little button right here, this is your shutter release button. It's the one that takes pictures. You're going to hold it down halfway, and it's going to get a focus on your subject. After it gets that focus, then you push it all the way down, and it'll take a picture. Now, if you're just getting into photography, this is a great way to get a focus. There's a couple issues though. One of the issues is every time you want to take another picture, you got to use that autofocus and refocus on your subject. Now, this is a little bit tedious. And what I find is if I'm taking multiple pictures of the same subject at the same distance, you want to use the AV button on the back. It allows you to get a focus lock, and then you don't have to reapply that focus every time you want to take a picture. Now, I have another video here that'll demonstrate everything you need to know about using this function. It goes into a little bit more detail. So the next setting that you should probably apply to your camera is going to be taking your camera from single shot photography to continuous high mode. Now, this just means that when you're holding down your shutter release button, taking that picture, it gets more than one shot. It'll get 3, 5, 6, however long you hold down your shutter release button, it'll continue to take shots. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, I like to take a picture one at a time. I want to make sure I'm getting the right moment. And you're right. You're actually absolutely correct. You want to make sure that you're waiting for that right moment to take that perfect shot. There is a sweet spot to that, and timing is everything. However, if you're on continuous high mode, it'll give you a series of 3 to 6 shots to pick from. And from that 3 to 6 shots, well, I mean, you just have a better odd of getting a really good picture, of getting the winner. So my suggestion is put it on continuous high, just try it. See if you can take more than 2 or 3 shots, and that way you'll just have better odds of getting what you're going for. Now, the last tip I have is more of a troubleshoot. Every once in a while I get these emails about how when I look through the viewfinder, I'm getting blurry images. I can't really see what's in front of me. It's just out of focus, and that's because your diopter is probably a little bit rolled back or rolled forward. Now, right here where you're looking at your diopter, this is basically, it's giving you a focus by looking through your viewfinder, and depending on your eyesight, you know, you may need to use this to just get a little clearer vision. This is for my people who have maybe astigma and they need to kind of adjust this a little bit. What you're going to find is some people have adjusted this to meet their needs and then they didn't turn it back for you. So my suggestion is just take the time and roll this either forward or backwards, and you'll find that you'll get that vision to be in focus for you. I know that's more of a troubleshoot thing, but I do get a lot of questions about that, so make sure that is accurately fit to your vision. Other than that, guys, those are all the tips I have for you for setting up your camera. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you take some pictures and you really start to really get into this process, please watch the next video. I'm going to make 2 more videos on how to work this thing in automatic mode. I'm also going to do one on how to use the focus feature in this camera, making sure that we can use that AV button. It really will start you off on the right foot, and I'll see you in the next video.